Meanwhile, there is the other suffering point. It's a pain point when it comes to food delivery aggregators. And that issue, when it comes to consumer grievance redressal, is back in focus. We've all faced issues on a daily basis when we order food at 2 in the morning from the aggregators like Swiggy or Zomato. We've all been in conversation with an executive from the company to get our refunds, to get several issues with our orders redressed. In fact, in the last 12 months, in the year gone by, the National Consumer Helpline has received, as we understand, more than 6,400 complaints against just these aggregators, the two food aggregators we're talking about, and that's Zomato and Swiggy. So the Department of Consumer Affairs has got into action, and they are taking cognizance of this. They're directing these major e-commerce food business operators to furnish the current framework that they follow in terms of trying to address consumer grievances. And they want to create a proposal on improving the redressal system, the entire mechanism. They want to do this in a span of 15 days. Let's discuss the possibility of this and what can be the likely outcome of it. Rekha Agarwal is an advocate in the Supreme Court and she works on consumer disputes. She's joining us on this discussion along with Ganesh, the founder of The Growth Story. Great to have you both with us this evening. And this is a bit of a tricky issue. I want to come to you, Rekha Agarwal. Surely within the consumer protection laws that we have within the country, are we able, my first question is, are we able to address some of these issues that are emerging when it comes to consumer issues and their redressal with these aggregators? Are they getting addressed or does an entirely new set of laws need to be created, and the framework that this entire drive is likely to create at the end of 15 days? That's what they intend to do. Is that something that could happen?
Vikram, as I see it, the earlier Consumer Protection Act of 1986 was itself sufficient, I would say, to cover all kind of disputes related to, quality of the goods and services which any service provider is providing. And now that we have the Consumer Protection Act 2019, which has been amended only 2 years ago, and it came into force in 2020, I do think that, whatever lacuna was there in the 1986 Act, that has also been taken care of. So very, very simply put, a consumer is the king as far as, as far as the fact that is concerned that he's a customer. The entire industry survives on the basis of the fact that there is somebody who wants to buy your goods or wants to buy your services. And the consumer has a right to complain under the Consumer Protection Act for any deficiency in goods or unfair trade practice which has been followed by any manufacturer or service provider. Now, these Zomato and Swiggy, now the latest fad is that, especially after the COVID pandemic, people have become more and more used to, just ordering the food from these food providers. And sometimes these people do happen to take the customers for granted. If not for a ride, at least they take them for granted that once a customer places an order, and we can just simply deliver the goods, and walk out of their houses without ensuring that, or without safeguarding that the quality has been maintained, that the delivery has been made in time, that there's no overcharging, etc., etc. The customer definitely needs value for money. And as I see it, that the new Consumer Protection Act 2019 is good enough. It has got enough teeth to cover all sorts of disputes. Now in this e-commerce age, and there's no need to even hire a lawyer if you want to address any consumer complaint.
Sure.
You can just make a complaint, e-complaint can be made. We have what is called the e-dakhil system in place now by the ministry, by the Department of Consumer Affairs.
Let me take this across to Ganesh, who's also waiting to speak about this issue. You heard what Rekha Agarwal is saying, that we are suitably armed through the current provisions of law. Why then do we need this framework? If consumer is king and there is a system to redress some of the problems that these consumers have with food aggregators, then what is the need for a new framework? And that too within the set timeline of 15 days. How do you see it?
See, I don't see personally the need for a new framework at all. Obviously, Consumer Protection Act is welcome. But the bottom line really here is that Swiggy or Zomato or aggregators do not make money on every order. They make money if once they acquire a consumer, the consumer is so delighted with the service that he's going to keep on ordering again and again. What in jargon we call as the lifetime value of the customer. So there is a commercial incentive on Swiggy, Zomato, and aggregators to ensure the customer is happy. I'm not saying by law. I'm not saying because of goodness of heart. Otherwise, they will end up losing money on acquiring the customer because customer acquisition cost is spent upfront and it will get recovered if you buy again and again over years from Swiggy or Zomato. Therefore, what's happening is the aggregators are passing on the feedback to respective restaurants. They work with the restaurants partners continuously to minimize consumer complaints across quality, taste, packaging, delivery, timeliness, all of those. So that, and otherwise, if they are not there, the platforms penalize and they don't show up the restaurants in the same way as they were doing it earlier. Therefore, already the platforms are doing it for the consumer because they have a commercial incentive to do it, and the restaurants have incentive to do it. So I don't see the need for a framework because it's going on. But let's accept the fact the number of complaints, whether 3,000 or 5,000 or 6,000 that you mentioned that I read in the thing,
Yes,
seems to be a minuscule percentage of lakhs and lakhs of transactions that happen.
right.
So let's not take it in isolation. I've never heard what percentage it is.
Right.
Okay, right?
Yeah.
It's a negligible percentage. So I personally think there is commercial incentive to be there. Give it some time. The market is really huge.
Yes.
There is so much of market to be captured. There is a race between Swiggy and Zomato to capture the potential that is there. Therefore, there will be glitches and issues that need to be encountered.
So if you don't nip the problem in the bud, as it were, perhaps the agency is trying to make sure that before this becomes a massive problem, because we're dealing with technology at the end of the day, they are aggregators. Yes, there are provisions in the law, but you need to create a new framework so that as the industry grows, perhaps there might be a situation where the number of complaints, which is currently, like I said, 6,400 complaints that have been received just against Zomato and Swiggy. So are we talking about the possibility of a larger problem, Rekha, that you think needs to be addressed in a different kind of way under different legal provisions? And this perhaps may not just apply to food aggregators, but the nature in which consumers interface with some of these aggregators across industries.
Vikram, I would say over here that under the new law of 2019, very stringent, rules and regulations have been made as far as e-commerce is concerned. So since these aggregators like Swiggy and Zomato are only, operating in the virtual world, when the orders are placed, I think that some of the conditions that have been placed, that have been made mandatory under the new law, is that these people need to have an office. They need to have a ground place where they are having their office and where a customer can go and complain. It should not, the entire thing should not be left to be taken care of in the virtual world. So like you buy a good, you buy any food from a restaurant, and you feel that the food is not good, the quality is not good, the service is not good, you just go to the waiter or you tell the manager and you can make a complaint over there. But when it comes to e-commerce, the customer does not know how to address that problem because it is all in the virtual world. So everybody is not as smart and as tech savvy to deal with such things, though it may be very easy to just operate an app and place an order. But after you have placed an order and you're not satisfied, what happens after that? Does the customer have to accept whatever has been given to him on the plate, to either eat it or to throw it in the dustbin, or to just grumble and say, oh, next time I'm not going to place an order through Swiggy or Zomato, or I'm not going to buy food from this particular restaurant. So I think that, yes, now that the number of customers is growing day by day, as Mr. Ganesh said, yes, these could be teething problems because this is indeed, there is no doubt, this is something new which our country is now getting used to, ordering food on the phone. We were asked, I come from the generation where I've not seen all these things happening myself. It's gradually I'm getting used to this new way of life. So now customers are getting more, and it's not only the young generation. Now people of all ages are getting used to this facility, which is of no doubt a very, very convenient facility, and which is not even very expensive, which is pocket friendly. So to take care of the all sorts of customers which are now coming into the market,
Yes.
and availing of these facilities, though as both of us said, Mr. Ganesh also
Yes.
said that we really do not need any new laws. Enough laws are already there. Yes, but stringent implementation of those laws should be there.
Stringent
And
implementation is well said.
aggregators should
Yeah.
be made aware that yes, we have to follow the law.
So what is
Customers-
happening? Yes, let me take that across to Mr. Ganesh. What do you think is happening at the company level to take consumer grievances more centrally as part of their growth strategy?
Yeah, so very clearly, see, they have a very strong rating system based on which they incentivize the delivery person, they incentivize the restaurant, and they penalize the restaurant by showing them lesser times in the app. They promote the restaurant if the rating is good. So already you have for
Mr. Ganesh, do you think
points,
you mentioned these aspects that are currently in place, but the question is that you still have as many grievances as you do. Going ahead, are these going to be sufficient?
No, again, I think there is a fundamental difference here we need to understand is this number of complaints as a percentage of total number of orders is absolutely minuscule and statistically insignificant.
Yes.
So therefore, to take this number and beat our chest is incorrect.
But do you think there will be more? Do you think there will be more measures put in place now that we are seeing the government wanting that from the industry?
No, I respect the government. I respect the consumer protection laws. I respect the laws, and therefore they have an incentive to ensure that the customers' interests are protected. All that is well appreciated. All that I'm saying is, like Rekha said, no need for new laws. Two, there is enough commercial incentives on the basis of for the companies to follow, and just give it that particular time. I think more and more regulation, more and more control in this area, specific area, I don't think it's required because all the parties are aligned pretty well. The consumer speaks with his wallet.
Is it too much control? Is it too much, perhaps industry may think of it as interference, something that they could have addressed internally, but something that may not require a new framework. The jury is still out on that one. We'll keep monitoring this space. Rekha Agarwal, K. Ganesh, thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on this important subject that we're discussing on India Tonight.